No Brock Purdy, no George Kittle, a banged up Jawan Jennings, and a banged up Trent Williams. But this team still finds a way. 49er faithful. Week 2 went. We came into week 2 not knowing what to expect, but ended up finishing week 2 with a W against the New Orleans Saints. Took care of business with Mr. Mac Jones, no Brock Purdy, with that turf toe injury, which it sounds like he's progressing well with. It sounds like he may be back sooner rather than later. But hey, for the time being, if Mac Jones continues playing like how he played today, we could be okay. We could be okay if Purdy needs to rest for an extended period of time. The 49ers come into New Orleans and get the win 26-21, a 5-point victory against maybe the worst team in the entire NFL. Definitely bottom 5. You can argue bottom 3. But that's what you expect to do. You expect to beat the inferior opponents, and of course you want to see it with a higher margin of victory. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with so much adversity as the San Francisco 49ers. As I mentioned, no Brock Purdy, no George Kittle. Jennings and Trent were questionable. They were game time decisions. They did end up playing, and they made their impact felt. And of course, a plethora of other injuries that this team is dealing with in that receiver room, especially. No Ayuk still. Demarcus Robinson, he's suspended. No Jordan Watkins was not playing. Jordan James was not playing. So adversity faced, but still persevere, and they finish on top. They finish strong. It was a good game, man. It was a good game. The offense was clicking on all cylinders, pretty much. The passing game was there. Mac Jones, 26 for 39, 279 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, a passer rating of 113.1. Who would have thunk that Kyle Shanahan's sweetheart back in the 2022 NFL draft, Niners trade up to pick number 3, heavily rumored that they want Mac Jones. They end up going Trey Lance. In the end, we get Mac Jones, and he has a better game than Trey Lance may have ever had with his time with the 49ers. Of course, short period of time. But, hey, Mac Jones came in, and he got the job done. Now, he did start the game sloppy. First drive, he started 0-4 in the game. The first drive was bad. It was a quick 3 and out. Not how you wanted to start the game, especially this game being, you would have wanted it to feel like an impact win, which it definitely does. I left this game feeling more rejuvenated than I did against the Seahawks. And I think part of it was because of how much adversity this team is facing and still finding ways to win. Okay, that is the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway that I got from this game is that the game plan is still there. Now Spencer Rattler started clicking, and I started sweating a little bit. But then as I get into the defense a little bit later, the defense proved, listen, they will win us games. Okay, if it comes down to the defense, we should be comfortable. So that is good to know. But yes, Mac Jones, he found his rhythm, ended up having a very productive game. And one of my biggest notes on Mac Jones was how poised he was in the pocket. Now, of course, he's not the mover as that Brock Purdy is. Brock Purdy makes some incredible plays with his legs. Mac Jones wasn't going to do that. He did have a really good scramble play. And he juked a guy, I believe it was Pete Warner, out of his boots. That was pretty sick. That got me hyped up. But in the pocket, when pressure is in his face, Mac kind of just stood there and delivered strikes after strike. And so that was pretty sick, especially with how the O-line was performing in the beginning of the game. The O-line was crumpling. It was not holding up nothing. Unfortunately, left guard Benton Barch got injured, and rookie out of Iowa, Connor Colby, stepped up in his place. We saw him step up for Dominic Pooney against Seattle. So he's kind of just like their swing guy. You kind of plug and play him anywhere. And he performed really well in that left guard spot. Almost good enough to where it's kind of his spot to lose. And frankly, I love it, man. Put Colby in at left guard and have a center competition. Okay, I really would want to see Ben Barch compete for that center position against Jake Brendel. Okay, I think that can be very interesting. And if Ben Barch is better than Brendel, perfect. We have a set O-line. If not, then we got to start thinking about who can play in that center position. But yeah, very impressed with the Mac Jones's poised poisonous in the pocket. He was very poised in the pocket. Let's talk about CMC, of course. 13 carries for 55 yards, 6 receptions for 52 yards, and a receiving touchdown on top of that. Frankly, I expected this game to rely on the run a little bit more. Only 13 carries for CMC. I'm happy with that, okay? Brian Robinson got himself 6 carries for 20 yards, and I like that. I like that split, okay? I mean, I was glad that CMC didn't get, no 17, 18, 20 carries. He got 13 against the Saints, so you were able to take it a little bit easier on him, and he still picked up 55 yards. Now, you did throw for him 6 times, not bad, but he got himself a nice 100-yard game. CMC, though, looking nice, looking fast, looking sharp, and I hope that he's getting healthier as the weeks progress. He's feeling better, and I hope that calf doesn't come back to bite him in the butt later on in the season. Let's talk about our receivers. Jauan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall-Jennings had himself 5 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. He loves seeing Jennings getting in the end zone, man. It was a very nice ball by Mac Jones, finding Jauan Jennings on kind of like a post route. And Jennings was able to find his way to the end zone, take it off. That was pretty sick. He did have a couple of crucial drops, however, but they were tougher catches. Mac Jones put one on top of him, and he had to go up and get it. And then he had like a second chance at it as he was falling down. It was just kind of a tough catch that you want to see Jauan make, but it's tough to really blame him for not coming down with it. At the end of the day, 99ers win, so they weren't that crucial of drops. Ricky Pearsall continuing his breakout campaign, 4 receptions for 56 yards. Hasn't found the end zone quite yet, but you really hope to see him get there soon. And you can tell that, Mac Jones, he loves that connection with Ricky Pearsall. He's starting to love Jauan Jennings. And hey, we got Kendrick Bourne's first game back as a Niner, reuniting with Mac Jones from their time in New England. Kendrick Bourne got himself 3 receptions for 32 yards, so he had some very reliable catches, and it was nice to see KB back out there. And then our 2 tight ends for the time being, with no George Kittle, Jake Tonjes and Luke Farrell. Tonjes got himself 4 receptions for 31 yards, and Farrell 2 receptions for 15. Tonjes got himself some design screenplays as well, so that was pretty cool to see. The offense in general, not having George Kittle, not having Brandon, not having these guys, not having CMC 100%. Kyle Juszczyk got injured as well. He's out with a concussion, so hopefully he's back by next week. Still looked solid, man. I gotta say, Mac Jones made this offense, look like a well-oiled machine, especially in that second half. There were some ups, high ups, but there were some downs for sure. It's still trying to find itself, still trying to play through these injuries, still trying to figure out who's this guy. But all in all, everybody's it almost seems like they know the position that they're at. They know we got to win these games, and everybody is taking that step up. And I talked about the O-line a little bit. First half, it was a lot of pressure was getting through to Mac Jones, but then they picked it up later, and Ben Bartch got injured. Connor Colby came in, and he held his own. He looked really good and comfortable in that left guard position. Let's move on, and let's talk about the defense. Nick Bosa. What a guy, man. What a guy. 9 tackles, got himself a sack, and he is just looking maybe like some of the best football that he's ever played. I mean, he is outstanding, man, and I feel like it does help with that defensive line that Robert Saleh has built. And just, I think, having Robert Saleh back in general rejuvenate and juices Bosa up, man. But Bryce Huff got himself a big play. He was so crucial on those passing downs. He gets off the ball so fast, and that speed rush is really what's helping out the rest of the defensive line. Basically to finish out the game, I mean, as you all saw, Bryce, I hope that you saw, if you didn't, it's all good. Bryce Huff gets off the line, similar to last game, how Bosa was able to push Abe Lucas into Sam Darnold, causing a fumble. Well, Bryce Young just breezed past the O-tackle and caused a fumble to Spencer Rattler to seal the game. So that was pretty sick. So he got himself a sack, fumble, and he got himself 5 pressure. And Michael Williams was finally kind of awake and alive this game. Last game, we saw that he was the most doubled defensive lineman in the entire NFL. He had like a 90-something double rate. This game, he was still probably doubled, frankly, but he got himself setting the edge. You really saw it when they were going his way. You saw those long arms setting the edge and containing that C gap. So he got himself 6 tackles on the day, and man, he frankly could have had more. I really can't wait till he gets his first sack because he is looking nice week after week. I can see the improvement that's coming there from Michael, at least compared from last week to this week, and you hope to see more progression next week at home. Talking about the secondary, it could have been better, but we've seen worse. Renardo Green was getting cooked early on. They were targeting Renardo Green like crazy. Rashid Shaheed had some big catches on him. Chris Olave was getting open behind him. It was kind of looking not great. But then he started to pick it up. Okay, he started to pick it up. Not the greatest games Renardo Green's ever had. Upton Stout was still getting picked on a little bit. We saw Jair Brown actually put in at the slot at the beginning of the game. And that's a pretty interesting position. I kind of like that. We already have Pinnock and Sigel at safeties. And, of course, Mustafa when he comes back. And so finding a spot for Jair Brown, because he's so long and lengthy, I kind of like him going in the slot and going up against some of these receivers and getting him closer to the ball in the run game. I like it. I like the idea. But Stout, we saw him blitzing a lot more this game. He got himself a sack. He got a handful of tackles. Basically, very similar to how I've mentioned K'Waun Williams being used, coming off as a blitzer, and he's so small, O-lineman can't really see him. He had 1 sack. He could have had 2 sacks. Coverage still needs work, no doubt. He was getting a little handsy. He got some flags called on him for pass interference, and ultimately he did get injured. I'm not entirely sure the severity. He looked like he might have been okay, though, so I think that's all good, but he did get a little banged up. But yeah, so Stout in the slot, and we got Jair Brown now switching off in there. Very interesting defensive formations, but hey, I like it, man. I like it. And Diamond Lenore was just absolutely locked down. I think I saw Rattler throw his side once, maybe twice, and it was to go underneath, and Diamond Lenore would corral to the ball almost immediately. So Lenore is just having himself a great season. Super fun watching. Actually, we don't really watch Lenore because the ball don't go his way. Only time you see Lenore is when he's lighting up the ball carrier, running with his hair on fire to the ball. And then let's talk about our linebackers. Wow, that's literally what I have in my notes. Just wow, because this linebacking core, insane. Some of the best linebackers in the entire league, man. Fred Warner speaks for himself. Okay, all over the ball. He got himself a fumble recovery, 11 tackles. But man, I really want to spotlight right now D. Winters. D. Winters had a heck of a game against New Orleans, man. He's got some of that Dre Greenlaw in him. Okay, all these people concerned, oh no, Dre Greenlaw. How are the Niners defense going to play? But I think a lot of the faithful knew D. Winters had this in him. Okay, he has been sitting behind Fred and Greenlaw for so long. I think he's a perfect blend of a little bit of all the linebackers that the Niners have had, and I think that he's going to be the next good one. I mean, the next great one even. He's going to have a heck of a season. I love it. He had himself 8 tackles all over the ball, man. Just aggressive. A little bit too much of that green on him. He got himself a personal foul, hitting Spencer Rattler when Rattler was trying to go run out of bounds. He gets me fired up. I love watching him and Fred out there. Just some incredible linebacking play. And real quick, let's talk about the special teams. Eddie Pinheiro comes in his debut after cutting Jake Moody, and he misses his first PAT when the 49ers score a touchdown. Wow. Let's talk about a horror story there. I was like, hold on now. This is not the plan. This is not what's supposed to. Even Jake Moody made the PATs. But then he made up for it for the most part, hitting 2 field goals throughout the game, and they were right down the middle. They were really nice field goals, not even close to being missed. So, we'll take that. We'll take that PAT as just a one-time thing. It was an anomaly. Forget about it. Scrub it. And Thomas Morstead, let's show some love to the punter, man. Really good. Yeah, he inside the 10 twice at the end of the game for some crucial drives for the Saints. They really didn't have a chance to even fight back because they were so far in their own end zone. The Niners defense had an easy job. All in all, a solid game against an inferior opponent. You expect to win these games. I'm going to say the injuries kind of played into the margin of victory here. Otherwise, the game was just too close. You don't want to be in a dogfight with teams like the Saints, number one thing, as always, get healthy. And when the guys get healthy, I'm talking, week 7, week 8, everybody's healthy, good to go. Maybe, let's go week 9. Everybody's healthy, good to go. Back in rhythm. This team is going to be dangerous. Okay, this team is going to be back on track. They're going to look good. Mac looked good. Defense looked good. Offense looked good. Bosa could be chasing DPOY. And I'm excited to see the development of the rookies. They had a solid game for the most part today. Sigel was doing his thing. Michael had a really good game. You just hope to see them carry it on and continue throughout the season. Next up for the 49ers, home opener against the Arizona Cardinals, who are 2-0 now. They beat the Saints, and then they went on and they beat the Carolina Panthers today as I'm recording this. And they're a solid team, man. You cannot sleep on them. If they come out and they perform like they did with the Saints, it's going to be a close ball game. Of course, I picked the good guys. The 49ers, I'm going to say that they win by, we'll say 3. We'll say the 49ers by 3 points. Eddie Pinheiro, maybe it's from his leg. Maybe the Niners are up by 3 in Arizona. The Niners, Bosa and Bryce Huff call game at the end like they typically do. But it should be a good one against a division opponent. Folks, I'll see you on the next one. If you would like, please take a look in the description below and take a look at my other social medias, the TikTok, the Instagram, and the Twitter. Leave a like and subscribe for the next one where we get into previewing the game against the Arizona Cardinals. All right, folks, take care. Let's go Niners. Peace out.